Hi, welcome. This is Rosemary, and this is the Lightwalkers Path podcast. And today, my guest is Sandra Murphy of Classic Design, also my sister and an outstanding interior designer. Welcome, Sandy. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very good. Thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Okay, so we want to talk about this beautiful thing that you do with interiors of homes to make people feel joyful and happy when they walk in their house. So a few things I wanted to ask you is when you go into, when someone calls you and says, Sandy, I need a consultation or some help with my design, what types of things do you find most challenging for you?
There are several things. One is oftentimes furniture is not in the best location, and they don't know that. But I had a situation where someone wasn't happy with the room they had in a fairly new home, and there was nothing wrong with the room. The walls were square and all of that. It was they didn't know how to position their furniture for best use of the room and for best conversation when you're sitting on these upholstered pieces. So once I changed that for them and then had them buy new furniture, which they intended to do, that changed everything. They were
That's
happy then with the
beautiful. That's
room.
beautiful. I know
Yeah.
one of your superpowers is doing floor plans for people because people like me that don't have that space in my head, you can see where things go better than I would. So, what are some of the things you do when you're creating a floor plan for a client?
I first ask how they're using the room because that's the most important question. What do they want to see? How they're going to be using this with their friends and family. So, first of all, it's the function. How is it going to function for them? Once I ask the question, I want to know what pieces are going to remain in the room and what are they planning to buy. Now, they may not know specific pieces, but they may know they're going to make a change. Once they hear from me how the layout will be, then they'll know what pieces they need to purchase.
Okay, so my other question is when they hire you to do the job that you do you suggest furniture? Do you go online for them or do they do it? How does your process work the best way?
When I'm doing a floor plan, that's generally in my third category called the concierge service. And that's a service where I'm doing most of the work. And part of that includes measuring the room, doing a floor plan, getting their feedback by a questionnaire to find out what their preferences are, what their budget is, what their style is. Once I have enough information, then I start the shopping process. Now, the difference here with me is I do not sell them furniture, which is different than other designers might be doing. I did that for years. Instead, I'm going to put the pieces together. I'm going to find specific items either locally, and I do that locally if it's upholstery I want them to sit on, or I may do it online when it's accessory items or end tables and things. And that's basically how I pull it together. And then I either give them the specific information to go to that site online so they know which pieces I want them to look at, or I'll take them with me locally to the store that I've selected upholstered pieces so I can make sure they're going to sit on those pieces and find that they're comfortable because comfort is key when you're buying upholstery. It's not just how it looks, it's how its comfort is, how it feels.
I love that you also go shopping with some of your clients too. I think that's an awesome service and it's very personalized to your client and to their needs. And I know, when I go in a store, I'm touching all the fabrics. So I also love that you allow your client to really understand what they're purchasing so that they fall in love with it and they'll know that it's just right for them.
You can't send them into a store on their own and say, okay, I went to the store, I found a sofa, and have them run wild through the store because they don't know what they're going to be looking for if I haven't specified pieces that I'm going to take them over to and sit them in. It's like a kid in a candy store. They're going to get confused if they don't know why they're there or what they're in to look at. So I guide them to the pieces I've already pre-selected, and it might be two sofa options, not just one, but I want to take them to those pieces based on the size and scale of the piece I've selected, knowing which pieces specifically will fit their room and their floor plan.
Yeah, I also know that you are very good at bringing in style that is particular to your clients. So you don't have to say, okay, this is what you need, that you know based on, your questioning and things like that to know like what styles go together and that your client will be happy with it. So what is the process of determining your client's style before you start actually giving them suggestions? What are some of the things you do?
I have, first of all, I look at their home, I look at their room, I see what other pieces they've already purchased. I ask questions, and I have a booklet called What's Your Style that I've created. and I'm showing them before and after pictures. I'm showing room settings, I'm showing colors. There's all different things they're seeing and they're commenting on. And the
Hmm.
more I get their feedback, the better I'm starting to know who they are and what they like. So that really is helpful.
Yeah, I also know that you have this amazing service where you can transform a room if they just say, Sandy, I trust you, let's work together. So in your concierge service, how do you how do you explain it to a new client that may not have worked with a designer before? What are some of the steps that you do to bring them into this great service that you have that they may not know about?
Well, I mean, they look at my website first of all to see other rooms I've done. I talk to them. I show them that booklet I mentioned earlier. They'll see, in some instances, before and after photos I might have on my laptop when I bring that along with me. They start to understand here's what we started in a room, here's what I did, and here's the outcome. They really need to see that visual to understand that a room that was basic now looks much better with the right elements in place. Then they get it, they understand.
I love that. I also love, I know that you have a very unique eye. So you've been able to do like a man's office and, a masculine area, not just for the woman who wants pretty things in her house. And I think that's really also unique to the way you look at design and the way that you work with your clients. So what are some of the unique items that you've been able to find or places that you've decorated that maybe the average person wouldn't understand or wouldn't know? Like I was thinking of, you told me the story of the marlin fish and then also Bill's office that you did, which was quite beautiful. So what are some of the unusual spaces that you've been able to transform?
Well, as you mentioned with the fish, there was a client, husband and wife, have a second home here in Delaware. They had a 20-foot wall behind a sectional, and the husband said, I want fish. And I said, what kind of fish? Do you want big fish? He goes, yeah, I want big fish. So I went out looking and shopping, and darned if I didn't find an 8-foot long acrylic marlin.
Oh, that's
And I
awesome.
called him up. I said, well, I've got your fish. And I sent him a picture and then I sent him to the store to look at it and he loved it. So,
Oh,
we,
that's
you know,
great.
we bought it and I had it installed and he was happy with that. Other things I've done over the years is I had a client who had an accounting business. Accounting at certain times of the year, like April, very
Mhm.
stressful. I put
Mhm.
an outdoor fountain in her office
Love
so that
that.
it actually worked. And she said it was so peaceful to hear the sound of water. And
I
then
love that.
behind that, I had a picture of like a garden, so the
Uh-huh.
whole theme was outdoor and nature, and she just loved that. So, you're
Yeah.
listening to clients, you're seeing how to meet their needs, what might make them happy. I get a sixth sense about things
Mhm.
after a while when I'm talking to them. So
That's really awesome. And what is the name of your website? If they want to find you to contact you, mention your website address.
sure, it's classicdesignnet.com.
Beautiful. And do you also have a phone number listed there or an email that they can get to from your website?
The email, yes, on the website is Sandra at classicdesignnet.com.
Okay.
Phone number is 302 883 7883.
Beautiful. Is there any other thing you'd like to mention that I haven't brought up in our talk today that you want to talk about?
Well, there's several things that people struggle with. One is color. Color is very interesting to try to select from a small swatch at a paint store. Almost
Yeah.
impossible. They
Mhm.
bring home a color that looks terrific, and then they have it put it on the wall and realize, oh, it's much darker than I expected it to be. There are
Mhm.
certain nuances of color that if they don't know, they're going to get it wrong, and they're going to spend maybe $100 on the wrong paint and then spending money on the painter and have to do it again. So I help avoid those things once I know what they're trying to achieve in the home. I bring colors with me.
That's a great idea. And I know also the lighting can affect so much the color
Absolutely.
scheme and what a color looks like, and I've
Absolutely.
noticed that myself when I painted something. It looked one color and then the sun came out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate that color, and then you have to change
Sure.
it. So it would have saved me a lot of steps, right? If you know exactly what it's going to be like.
Right.
Okay. What are some of tell me a story of either a horror story of something you redecorated or someone's misuse when they bought something completely wrong because they hadn't checked.
People do that oftentimes when they're excited to go shopping, but it's like they're running out, checkbook in hand, but they haven't really thought about, well, what size sofa do I need? Or what color would we like? Or will it go with the furniture we already have? So, as
Hmm.
an example, I had a very dominant male that decided to surprise his wife. He was going to go out and buy a sofa on clearance because he was going to save money. So
Uh-oh.
he goes and he buys the sofa, puts it in the back of his truck, and brings it home. Well, she's a woman that collects dolls. She was very delicate and very quiet. And this is a big masculine guy she's married to. He thinks he knows best all the time. So he brings in this 90-inch long, which is a very long sofa, dark brown leather piece. It's puffy, it's large, it's
Oh.
definitely not for the little woman who collects dolls. So he brings into the living room. First of all, it didn't fit. Secondly, it was too big, too dark. And third, she really hated it.
I
So
bet.
I think it wound up in their basement because sometimes you buy on clearance, you can't return it to the store. They don't want it. And if they
Yeah.
will take it back, they may charge you 25% restocking fee.
Oh
So
goodness.
he
So
learned his lesson
you've
the
saved
hard way,
marriages. You've saved marriages with your design as well, right?
for
Oh
sure.
my gosh. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to bring out that we haven't discussed about your design or about anything that you want to mention?
Furniture placement, I may have mentioned, is really important because the furniture may be the right pieces in the room, but if we're in the wrong location, now you're shouting across the room because you don't have the furniture close enough, or you have the wrong size pieces. You have a big overstuffed sofa and a delicate little chair that really don't go together in a room. They don't look right.
So
Proportional scale
the
are
styles and
off.
the scale. Yeah,
Yes.
I
And
understand
people
that.
don't know that. They put things together, they don't know it looks right or wrong, but
Right.
they know the room doesn't quite meet what they thought it might, and they don't know why. So they
Right.
call me and
Yeah.
I see and I help them.
Absolutely. Okay. So we have your website so people can contact you, and I hope that they do and they look at your room plans and things that you do. And you are located in Delaware, but you also work virtually with clients. Is that true?
Correct. I do. Yes, I'm working with someone
Okay.
right now in Massachusetts, as a matter of fact. And
Okay.
it's delightful to do that. I can work on Zoom through FaceTime. As long as I can see the room and know a certain wall size, if that's the wall in question, I can help them easily.
Wonderful. Okay, so thank you so much for being my guest today on
You're
the
quite
Lightworkers
welcome.
Path. And I hope people reach out to you and your website and also subscribe to my podcast, The Lightwalkers Path, and look for workshops, sessions, and one-to-ones. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Okay.